You're on the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. I want to talk to you about preachers and politics. Article coming from ChristianHeadlines.com about two well-known and influential pastors who set out to explain why and how they plan to vote in this election. One you've already heard from in a previous video. His name is John Piper, best known perhaps for his Desiring God publications and radio programming. The other is Al Mohler, pastor, president of Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. One is convinced he cannot vote for Donald Trump. The other is just as convinced he must vote for Donald Trump. So where does your pastor stand? You do know that question never used to be asked. And if it were, that pastor would probably not tell you. Today, all segments of our society are intertwined and not for the good. John Piper suggests that he may not be voting for Donald Trump nor Joe Biden in the presidential election. He says, I think it's a drastic mistake to think that the deadly influences of a leader come only through his policies and not also through his person. Flagrant boastfulness, vulgarity, immorality, factiousness are not only self-incriminating, they are nation-corrupting. He says he's not making an endorsement, and he doesn't intend to dictate how anybody else should vote. On the other side, you got Al Mohler, who says in a new column that he has changed his mind about Donald Trump as president, even if he hasn't changed his mind about Trump's character. Mohler did not support Trump 4 years ago, and he spoke out multiple times against the Republican nominee, writing in the summer of 2016 that evangelicals were tragically being used to support the lesser of two evils. This week, though, Mohler says he now supports Trump. And he made his arguments in a column entitled Christians, Conscience, and the Looming 2020 Election. On the question of character, Mohler says Trump still falls short in 2020 like he did in 2016. But a lack of character is not disqualifying. I have had to think more deeply about how character is evaluated in an historical context. So what's happened? Why is it prominent clergy feel they need to tell people about their politics? Well, humanly, it's an emotional issue. They want their people to know where they stand. They want to explain how it is they can or will not vote for Donald Trump. They believe their congregations want to know. They need help making decisions. They believe their congregations need them to explain the complex issues Trump and Biden represented. Piper mentions Trump's open sins, unrepentant sexual immorality, unrepentant boastfulness, unrepentant vulgarity, unrepentant factiousness, and the like. He said voters should consider the person and how he impacts the nation, not just the policies, but his character and convictions. He declares that this is true, not only because flagrant boastfulness, vulgarity, immorality, factiousness are self-incriminating, but they are also nation-corrupting. They move out from centers of influence to infect whole cultures. In supporting a person who is unrepentant, Piper says Christians sometimes value laws and policies over person. He went on to say, I find it bewildering that Christians can be so sure that greater damage will be done by bad judges, bad laws, bad policies than is being done by the culture-infecting spread of the gangrene of sinful self-exaltation and boasting and strife-stirring. Piper also said in the post that abortion is wickedness. But there is another deadly sin. When a leader models self-absorbed, self-exalting boastfulness, he models the most deadly behavior in the world. Piper points out that Trump is pointing his nation to destruction of more kinds than we can imagine. It's naive to think that a man can be effectively pro-life and manifest consistently the character traits that lead to death, temporal and eternal. He's talking about sinful attitudes, behaviors, speech, and so forth. Piper says he's neither voting for Trump nor Biden. Al Mohler said he's changed his mind, that he's going to vote. Trump still fails the character question. But Mohler believes that the character question is not disqualifying. I have no means of reading Donald's heart, but I can easily evaluate his actions. He has been the most effective and consequential pro-life president in modern times. In executive actions and court appointments, he's gone far beyond what would have been politically necessary. He says, I have to think more deeply about how character is evaluated in this historic context. Trump's judicial nominations and support for the pro-life causes are what is keeping Mohler focused. This is what happens when preachers, pastors, Bible teachers step down from their pulpits in order to be relevant. I know that people ask them these questions. They don't have to answer them. There's a reason the old churches had pulpits that sat high above their congregations. It wasn't to elevate the pastor. It was to elevate the message. In my 35 plus years as a pastor, I don't remember a single time telling anyone how I registered to vote, how I planned to vote, nor how I did vote. Such things polarize people and congregations. In time, you end up with only those that agree with your politics. Should you express something other than what is mainstream for those particular people, out of line with the politics, you're going to lose influence in their lives. Now, I know some preachers don't really care about that, but pastors do. They know that the life they live, as well as the doctrines they espouse, are part and parcel of who and what they are. It's a package, at least in the minds and the hearts of their congregations. Now, I did do a local radio show for about 14 years while I was pastoring in that town. There I spoke about all sorts of things, theological and social. I did this program on the radio. My congregation knew exactly where I stood. Everybody in town knew. But in the church and my preaching, positive character qualities from the Bible were what I sought to express, not politics. Not even a hint. Al Mohler believes Trump has staked his place in history and has defined the accommodationalist temptation and has given pro-life Americans more than any other president. He says, I sincerely hope that Donald Trump, and not Joe Biden, is elected president of the United States in November. How about you?